Without any further ado, I just want to welcome you to the podcast, Ben. It's been a long time coming. My son in the background edits these videos. He's known you for a while as well, and he's like, "Dad, we need to get Ben on the show." And so it's been always on our mind to get you here. So it's an honor for us to have you. It's a privilege to sit down with you. So thank you for joining us, Ben.
I'm honored. This is my second podcast ever, and I'm super excited.
Right, you got your headphones, so you're good.
I do. This is a bucket list for me. So
Awesome.
I've got the mic. I've got the headphones. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your business,
Yeah.
and obviously photography. What was the defining moment for you when you knew that this was more than just a hobby that you do in your free time, and that it sparked something to, hey, I'm going to do this as a career?
Yeah. So I mean, you can make it a long story or a short story, but I always loved photography, and in high school and in college, I had like a little Canon Power Shot, and then my wife bought me like a Canon Rebel, and I would just goof off taking pictures with them. And then one of my friends that lived here, that I grew up with in school, he went to photography at Casper College. He took photography there, and he would take film pictures on a medium format camera, and he would develop these pictures and blow them up on like a little smaller print or bigger print and hang them in his house. And I loved them. I love black and white, but I loved the candid look of it. And film will never be replaced. It's just got this like organic vibe about it.
Yeah.
You can't put like a preset for a digital on a digital picture and make it look exactly like film. It just looks a little different. Anyways,
Yeah.
for one of my birthdays one year, he bought me a medium format camera, and so I started when I first got it, I was like, man, I really don't want to learn how to use this thing. I just loved swooning over his work, and he taught me how to use it. I started shooting on it, developed some of those pictures. I'd post them on social media, and people started asking me like, hey, will you take pictures of our like, we love your pictures. Will you take pictures of our family? And so I was like, no, like, I don't want to ruin like your pictures. I don't know what I'm doing like that. There's so many people out there that are like talented at doing that, but I did it. And I thought I was going to be this new trendy, like film photographer that just shot families. And it was actually very difficult because you only get like 8 pictures per roll, like 8 to 10 pictures per roll. And you're constantly changing and measuring light because like you can be facing the sun and then over in the shade, and film comes with one speed of film, and you have to change like the exposure and the aperture. And so I quickly bought a digital after that. But after I posted those families, it just all started snowballing. Some friends of mine that I went to school with asked me to shoot their wedding. I shot that. And then when I posted those pictures, the girl that took our wedding pictures in Jackson reached out to me and said, I love your aesthetic. It's very similar to mine. Do you want to come up and second shoot for me in Jackson? I'll mentor you. You can use the pictures that you take at my weddings in your portfolio. And I was like, yes. And so I went up there and I started shooting with her like 4 to 8 times a year for a few years. I learned so much from her. And then after that, it just kind of like, it was like, wow, I could make a living out of this. And I still very much had a full-time job at that time, but that's like when it started turning into like a passion project. And
Was this the Honda days when you were working at Honda, or
Yep.
before Honda?
No, Honda for sure. Yep. I worked at Honda, and then when things were getting real busy, I left Honda and started working for Lamar Outdoor Advertising.
All right.
And I did that for a few years, and then it just got to the point where I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I wasn't getting to see enough of my family. And
So you had to make the change.
Yep.
This will date us for sure, but we got married in '96 in France, because that's where you get married when you married a French person.
Yeah.
And our photographer, we brought him from, it was a family friend, and he came over, and so in 1996, there wasn't digital photography, and he brought so much material because he had the cartridges that he would slide into. It was like, it was really high quality cameras, and it wasn't just like the rolls of film that we used to buy for it
Mm,
was like cartridges, like a floppy disk.
yeah.
Again, that's gonna date me as well,
Yeah.
but and just all the material he had to bring over, it was just incredible.
I try and put myself in their seat, like back in when my parents got married. I think in the 70s probably,
Hmm.
because I was born in 85. Maybe they got married in the 80s, but that was film.
Yeah,
And, today you can shoot like 2,000 pictures on one SD card,
right.
and like you can just burst. You don't have to, you have all your light measurement tools in the camera. Everything's instantaneous. You can instantly look if it turned out great or not.
Hmm.
And then like, same thing. I mean, even if you're shooting in 35 millimeter film, you still didn't have that many pictures and you're still having to measure your light. So like having that like confidence in knowing how to use your material, like your equipment perfectly.
Hmm.
But and then the biggest part is like if you're using flashes and stuff and all that, you can't look at it. So you don't know. You had to have been so confident in your
Oh yeah.
skill and knowing how to use your equipment, then your cameras and stuff, then now it's like, oh crap, that didn't turn out. Let's reshoot that real quick. Like then you don't know if someone closed their eyes. You don't know.
It's next level. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been I'd love to go back in time and just like
Right.
experience a wedding or like like a commercial shoot and see what
It
people
is.
did.
And I mean, our photography came out really well, but
Hmm.
just like you said, he won't know. He won't know until he puts it into
Correct.
the dark
Yeah.
room and expose in print
Yeah.
or develops
Hmm.
those pictures. It's just, and that was, he did that probably 3 weeks later. So
Yeah.
I mean, there was all that time going. I mean, I'm sure that he had some sleepless nights as well,
Oh,
because you don't, fly to France from Oregon and mess up on the on the
yes.
photography.
Yeah.
You only have one take.
And what if you have like I know you have bad rolls of film too. Like
Yeah.
nowadays you have two SD cards in your camera and
Right.
you have like redundancy systems so you don't lose any pictures. But
Hmm.
then it's like
Yeah.
if you missed it on film, like,
Thanks for watching today. These podcasts are powered by Payrock, and Payrock is a payment solutions provider. We work with any size business or nonprofit, improving those payment acceptance efficiencies while reducing those overall costs. You can get a hold of me through any one of those social media channels, or you can give me a call. Let's get back to that podcast. For those that don't know, in Europe, weddings last a full, sometimes 24 plus hours, and there are different segments throughout the day. So there's a lot of coverage. It's not like a 2 hour photo shoot. This is literally starting at 9 or 10 in the morning, and then it goes until like 5 or 6 the next morning. I
Lord
mean,
have mercy.
so there's a lot of shots going on. So I'm just thinking, putting myself in his shoes, it's like there's so many things, so many ways it could have gone wrong
Yeah.
and could have messed up. And all the like I said, the cartridges he had to bring with him, and he was just like
Oh, he
tons
must have
of
been
them.
exhausted because even like my full days are typically an 8-hour wedding day. And at the end of those,
Oh,
it's like,
I'm sure.
I call them wedding hangovers. Like you do 1,000 squats, just getting up and down and up and down and up and down. And then you're having to like cater to all the different personalities and keep everyone happy and orchestrate like all the family formals. And then you have to do all the posing and
Mhm.
you're on for 8 hours straight. I know people work full-time jobs, but like you're just like you get a 30-minute break to sit down and eat, and then after that you're just like
That's a lot of work.
100% go 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 for 8 hours. And I've shot 10-hour weddings, and those are I can't imagine
Yeah,
like
24.
24 hours.
It's intense,
Woo.
and they don't.
Yeah, that'd be like running a
Yeah,
100-mile marathon or ultra race or
and
something.
you could probably do it. I mean, maybe we'll get into that in a minute. But you're known for, as well as traditional
Hmm.
uh, wedding photography. You're known for elopements.
Yeah.
What was that like to transition from the traditional to something that's a little more artistic and very, very different?
Yeah.
Elopement shots are very, very different. What was that like?
Well, yeah, I started shooting, which I very much still love traditional weddings. I think one of the blessings I got from COVID was these intimate weddings. And so, like during COVID, I think I only shot like that year, maybe 3 or 4 weddings, and they were so intimate. Like typically the weddings I was shooting prior to that were anywhere between 200 and 400 guests, and those are so busy. So much personality, so many moving parts.
Hmm.
And so when COVID came and I got to shoot a few of those weddings where it was only 10 to 15 people, maybe 20 people there, for these micro wedding gatherings, they were like Not that traditional weddings aren't, but these micro weddings are like they're so meaningful. Like the people that are there are their absolute most closest favorite people there. And it was nothing but just it like gives me goosebumps thinking about it. But like they're just there to be there for them. They support them. They love them so much.
Mhm.
And after I felt that, I was just like, man, I love this vibe. Like I love these smaller micro weddings. They're so much more chill, more relaxed.
Mhm.
But the guests and the family and the people are they're just so happy for that couple. They're not making it about them. They're so much more relaxed. And so after that, I think it was COVID year or the year after that, I quit my full time job. It was probably not the best idea during COVID to do, but it just got to the point where you're just working. So, like, I work all day at Lamar, and then come home, spend a little time with Rachel and the girls, family time, dinner, get everyone down, and then I would be editing. I'd be working because you have to shoot at sunset at nighttime, so you miss those times, and then you're editing until like 12, 1, 2 in the morning, 3 sometimes, and then you wake up at 7 and you go to work and you do it again.
Yeah.
And like how long can you do that?
Right.
And so that's when I quit my full-time job, I left Lamar, and yeah, started doing full-time. One thing I noticed when I quit my full-time job was when I worked at Honda and Lamar. Honda, I did everything from, I was there for, I think, 18 years. I started as a lot hand for Max and Rod Stock Up when it was Max's Honda. And then a couple years later, my father-in-law bought it, Ken and Linda Walker, and Honda of Casper moved it out to CY. And I worked my way all the way up to like sales and internet sales. And one thing that they're always doing for their salespeople at Lamar and Honda and those corporate jobs is like continuing education. And so especially for Lamar, like I think I had to be there for 6 months before they did it, but they fly you out to Baton Rouge to corporate headquarters for a week, and you get to hang out at headquarters. It's the most beautiful building. Love Baton Rouge. It's energizing, but they teach you these skills in person that you wouldn't learn like over the internet on a computer. And so when I quit my full-time job, I was like, I've never invested in my education for photography. It's all been, I mean, I had bought like courses online to learn things, but most of it was like by trial and error, spending time looking at things that you do like styles and stuff, and then also YouTube. YouTube's a huge resource, and so one of the photographers, there was a guy I was following that does adventure elopements, and his photography is stunning. It's timeless. It's high end. It's beautiful, and he does workshops. And so it was during COVID. I don't know if he was having trouble selling seats out, but it was a little cheaper and less people there. And I was like, I think this is because maybe I'll get more time to work with him. It'll be a little bit more of an intimate setting instead of having to work with you'll have less photographers, more time with him and the couples. And so I bought that, and went to it. And that was my very first time shooting something. It wasn't a real elopement, but you got a taste of what it would look like.
Right.
And just working with those couples, nothing else. Used to just spend a whole day working with these couples that want to go elope somewhere. It doesn't have to be international, but with it just being them, the chemistry is so different. It's um, on a wedding night when you're taking pictures of people at sunset, they're typically so exhausted, so tired, um, sweaty, having fun,
Right.
and when when you get to go do an elopement where it's just authentically them, and they love each other and celebrate each other so much they want to go travel somewhere and just focus on themselves to do that,
Mhm.
it's a different vibe. And yeah, I went and did that workshop with Tyler. I instantly fell in love with it. Um, and yeah, I've really been trying to target um, elopements.
Is that your primary thing you do right now is elopements, or is it a mix?
So that's also a funny story. So I go do that workshop, right, and then I go to an Iceland elopement too, or workshop, and I that first elopement or workshop I did with him up there, he asked if I would help him drive one of the cars and stuff, and so I did. And then I think a few months after that, he asked if I'd come up and assist him in Iceland. So I got to go back a couple more times, 2 or 3 more times, and I just love it. I love traveling in general,
Hmm.
um, but the concept and idea of being able to be paid to travel, to go, I love trail running, I love hiking, I love adventure. So to be able to cater all those things into a job is mind blowing.
Right.
But at the same time, I have a family, so right, so I drink the Kool-Aid. I'm like, this is gonna be my full-time gig,
Right.
and I think one of my trips was I was gone for almost 2 weeks. We went to, Australia and New Zealand, and it takes almost 2 days to get there.
Right.
And then we were there for, I think, 7 or 8 days in New Zealand, and then we came back and spent a day in Australia and did a shoot there, and then came back, and by the time I got back home, Rachel was like, "Babe, I'm I love you. Like, I'm so happy for your success and that you're pursuing what you love. But I don't want to be a single mom and this isn't going to work." And
Mm.
I was
That's
like,
fair. That's fair.
"Okay." Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so of course I was just like, "Oh man." Like,
Yeah.
but she was so right. Like, I'm
Mhm.
like, "Man, I do need to be here more and be more present with my family and my kids and my wife." And so yes, I very much do elopements and micro weddings and weddings in Casper and Wyoming still. I would love to travel like 4 times a year internationally, which is what I'm pushing.
Mhm.
But in Casper, to answer your question, long version is yes, I still do couples engagements, micro weddings, elopements here in Casper, but also during the day I do real estate and architecture photography and interior design. So those things are pretty Casper bound. They keep me here, and they help keep things afloat.
Mhm.
Um, and then who knows? Maybe one day when the girls grow up and it's just Rachel and I, then maybe I can push adventure elopements more.
And you can take Rachel with you.
I can take Rachel with
There you
me.
go.
Yes. Yep.
You heard that, Rachel. I encourage
Yeah.
that.
Thank you, Eric.
um, Entrepreneurship also talks a lot about sacrifice. There's a lot of
Hmm.
sacrifice that goes into it. Take us back to the early days when you just launched. What was the hardest thing you had to sacrifice? I mean, you talked about time,
Time.
time with your
Yeah.
family.
That's it.
That's it.
I the single biggest thing is I always try and tell people if I'm mentoring like someone that wants to pursue photography or some people just reach out to me and want to talk about business because they want to start one. I always start off by telling them, finding your self value is hard, like figuring out what to charge people and in any aspect of business. That doesn't have to be photography, but like it's this fine line of conversion between time and money. And I always say that time is the most valuable form of currency. So you have to really like it's hard. It's hard to figure out like where to draw the line and like
Yeah.
what to charge people so that you do have that time because we never get time back.
Mhm.
Your kids aren't young forever.
This is true.
We aren't young forever. And so yeah, I spend, my biggest sacrifice starting my company, at least for the first 3 years, was I missed a lot. I missed bedtime stories. I missed going to bed early with my wife a lot. I missed, um, like plays and concerts. And I mean, now things are much better. You're established. I always tell people it's going to take like, if you want to start a company, I've always thought you have that golden circle of 3 years. It takes at least 3 years to figure out if you can like jump ship and do this full time. Um, and this is my 10-year anniversary.
It
I want to
is.
have a party in September, but yeah, life is good. I've been very blessed. Um, and yeah, but I would say the biggest hardship is time, not getting those things back.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's the third podcast I've done with someone that's celebrating their 10-year anniversary. So that's great.
ooh,
You know,
okay.
Amber over at Backwards Distillery,
Oh,
their 10th year as well. So
it's funny you say that because that's the first wedding. When I said I had friends that I shot the first wedding, it was them,
all
and
right.
so they like sat down with coffee with me. I don't think they told me they wanted me to shoot a wedding. They were just like, "Let's grab coffee," and I was like,
Right.
"Let's go!" And because I always say coffee, coffee, and I love it. And we sat down, and they were like, "So we're getting married, and we'd love for you to shoot our wedding." And I was like, "No, like, I will ruin it." And they were like, "We love your we love your work, we
Mhm,
love you, so we know whatever you shoot, it will turn out great."
mhm.
And it was hard. It was a New Year's wedding. It was my very first wedding ever by myself. And it was a New Year's wedding, so it was dark, and I knew I had to use flash, and I had never used flash before. So
Right.
I got on lens rentals, and I rented all this flash equipment and watched all these YouTube videos and crossed my fingers and held my breath. And
All right.
that's actually the wedding that I shot and posted pictures of that my Katie Gray up in Jackson asked me to come down, or I guess come up there and start shooting some weddings with her. So yeah.
That's cool. Was it here? Was it shot here in Wyoming?
Amber's.
Yeah.
Yes, it was actually over at the hangar, but before it was open. So
All right.
they brought this really cool. I can't remember who it was. This brought this band in from Colorado, but the hangar wasn't. It was being renovated, but it wasn't finished.
All
So they
right.
had like these luxury bathrooms brought in inside there, and they had a big stage set up, and
All right.
it was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Back to the early days. What kept you grounded when doubt would come in? Because as any business owner, at the very beginning, they're like, "Is this going to work? Is this really going to pay off? Can I pay my bills?" What kept you grounded in that season to keep plugging away?
My wife, I would say, is a big one. She's my biggest cheerleader.
Hmm.
You know, if you have a down day or a rough day, of course you always want to talk to about to your significant other, and she's so good at listening and diffusing and encouraging.
Hmm.
So she's definitely number one. But number two, I think, is also um, always having a positive outlook on life and treating everyone with positivity and respect,
Hmm.
and just, I mean, life's short. Don't get caught up in all
Yeah.
the small things. Like,
Right. Choose your battles.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I would say, yeah, Rachel's number one.
That's cool.
And then, I mean, just stick with it. I mean, I will say, like, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but like owning your own business and being an entrepreneur is extremely rewarding and very fun, but it is not easy. It is hard. Um, there are definitely some days I look back thinking like, man, when I worked at Lamar, I only had to work 5 days a week, and I went in at 9 and I left at 5, and my work stayed at work. And then
Hmm.
I just got to be present and be home with my family after 5.
Yeah.
And you got holidays off and everything. And it was really good money. Um, but now, and then you go and work for yourself, which is super fun and rewarding. But you work 7 days, 8 days a week. I always say 8 days a week and
Right.
48 hours a day, because you are you are constantly plugged in. When Rachel and I used to we go on mom and dad trips once a year. And when I had a full-time job, we would leave our cell phones in the safe in the bedroom and just unplug, read books on the beach, just be present. And now I can't, like, I just can't unplug for a full week, because I can like check out here and there, but I mean, you have to be on to answer leads and inquiries
Absolutely.
and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of back in a previous life, I did some consulting for a shipping company out of Scandinavia. It's called Maersk. Maersk. They do they ship things by cargo ship.
Is
And
that a French word?
no, it's a Swedish word, I think. I pronounce it
Oh,
with a French
it
accent. I'm
sounded
sorry, I
very French.
apologize. Apologize for my French accent. But on their logo, it's a star with 7 branches, and the
Mhm.
CEO told me the reason why we have 7 branches because it represents the 7 work days of the week. And I think
Mm.
it's always a joke, but
Yeah.
that's entrepreneurship, that's
Yeah.
business,
Yes.
and often entrepreneurship is romanticized.
Yeah.
What is the untarnished look at your life at the beginning? What was the grind like to get to Ben Winkler Photography to where it is today?
Oh, just so many aspects. Like, just working nonstop. I feel like the older we get, the more fed up we get with it, because and that's where like price increase and stuff comes from. So you get a little bit of time back, but in the beginning, you're just like you're so hungry, and you'll take anything for nothing. And that was a grind. Like that's they always like burnout. It happens in any business, and writing that fine line of like how much can I work without burning myself out? And usually for photographers, I think it doesn't matter how much you charge. Well, maybe if you charge a lot of money and you work less, but like fall is the grind. Like that's when like people forgot to take pictures of the spring and the summer. They're like, oh, we need Christmas pictures or we need updated family pictures. Fall is like Rachel. I usually September, October, I apologize to Rachel and I
in
say,
advance.
I'm so sorry. I'll see you in 6 weeks. And she's every year. She's just like, I know, it's time. And so,
Right.
I would say the grind is just the hardships in the grind is countless nights. And it still happens in today. It's not as bad as it was, but um, just being so devoted to your business and success that I mean, aside from family, you always put it first. So, yeah.
Yeah. How do you, further to that, how do you balance? Because you're obviously an artist.
Uh-huh.
You take your work as an art. It's
Mhm.
not it's an art form.
Yeah.
How do you balance that, staying true to your artistic self and balancing the needs of running a business and getting that deal done? Maybe cutting corners. And
Yeah.
how do you do that?
So in the beginning, you kind of have to be a master of all trades, like your own bookkeeper, your own. I mean, I'm still very much most of all those things, but I don't do bookkeeping anymore. So I used to do all my own bookkeeping, taxes, um, like like not just with state taxes, but also like IRS and federal and stuff. And I finally got to the point where it was like you kind of notice that you start plateauing because you don't have enough time for everything, and that's where like you really need to know. It's a sense of pride, I think, and control that like you. I want to say I'm a perfectionist, so I feel like if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. But if you can let go of that and surrender,
Mhm.
sort of, and say like, okay, I need help. Like, I need someone to do these things for me. So then, like, if you can identify the things that really back up your workflow, things that you really don't like doing that you put off to the very last minute, and that puts you in like a negative mindset and it sucks the energy out of you, get rid of it. Like, there's not enough time in the day. So now, fast forward, like I've had a bookkeeper for probably 6 years now. It's the best investment I ever made. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about it. We still have our phone calls and we go over taxes and expenses and goals, but I don't have to think about like
Right.
all that nitpicky stuff. And I do need. There are other growing pains I'm working through. Like editing is a big part of a photographer's business. Um, and I took a sales training school last year, and they like right off the bat they kind of said like there's not enough time if you really want to push this and be super successful. You have to decide, do you like shooting more or do you like editing more?
Hmm.
And of course, my answer is shooting. I love editing, but my absolute favorite part of my job is getting to meet clients and to relate to them and making lifelong friendships, figuring out what makes them click, and then photographing that emotion and that fun in dramatic landscapes.
Hmm.
And so eventually, one day, I will have to let go of my control. And I've actually talked to Jesse, your son, about this. He was thinking about being one of my test pilots for it, but like editing is such an intimate part of our workflow. Um, we You can't copy what you're going to do to a photo to someone else. So I think it would be easy to let go of calling. Um, AI is not there yet. I've tried it, and it is not anywhere near close
Right.
to be able to cull. Plus, I want to know there's AI doesn't know about emotion. Humans do. We can see it on the face, and so I want to be in control of like what pictures are delivered and what's culled out of a gallery. And same with editing; it's not the same. So I think that's still very much a human experience. I'll have to let go of that eventually. But I haven't yet. That's my biggest backup. But
So all the things that are not artistic, you're more and more, you're delegating those things more and more.
Yep.
Got it. What does photography mean to you?
That's a hard question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. Um, I'd have to say photography is just it's freezing a moment in time. And I love my favorite pictures I take, of course, are in dramatic landscapes and things, but like I love getting people out of their like getting them in their comfort zone where they're having fun with me. They forget that I'm a photographer and they're just having fun. And I love getting those pictures where they're laughing, genuinely laughing and enjoying themselves. And I love crying. I just love emotion. But yeah, photography, I'd have to think about that more. I don't know if I answered that question right, but photography to me is traveling, meeting people, capturing emotion.
Human interaction.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I knew that could could take us off on a tangent.
Yeah.
But maybe you'll come back in a week and give me another answer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Speaking of freezing time, because that's what photography is. It's interesting you brought it up because it's one of the questions I wanted to ask you because it does freeze time. Take us back to one moment in the last 10 years that you'd like to revisit that just impacted you so much in your career? Like maybe it was a photo shoot, an elopement shoot, but what moment like you wish you could revisit that again?
Jeez, Eric. I
didn't say this would be
so
easy.
many. You know, it would definitely have to be something traveling. I did an elopement in Scotland last year. It's the very first international elopement I did on my own. And I had so much fun. But I'd love to go back and revisit that and take a little bit more of it in because I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know. I was so wrapped up in like the business side of it and so focused on, which is important, making sure that the couple's happy and above and beyond going, you know, I would say one of my weaknesses is mine is I don't know when to turn the switch off. And I typically have to give my couples a disclaimer, like, if you get to the point where you're like completely exhausted and you want to smack me in the face, then just give me the heads up and we can take a break or be done. Because I will squeeze every last bit of light out of the day before we quit. I don't have an off switch. And I loved the pictures we did there. I loved the trip, but I found maybe like 6 months to a year later, I didn't take any pictures of the trip, like driving from London to Edinburgh. And I love pictures of just like candid street photography. Like
you drove from London to Edinburgh?
Yes.
'Cause I've done that.
That's long.
That's long. We took a train and it was long.
Right off the plane, we did it. And I think it was like 8 or 10 hour flight. And then we landed and I didn't have to drive. Thank the Lord. I offered, but Tristan, she drove us Tristan and Taylor were taking turns driving there. We were exhausted by the time we got there.
I'm sure.
But some of my favorite pictures that I see are candids of people you don't know, especially specifically in Europe, because the architecture and the aesthetic is not like anywhere else. And just a man reading the newspaper, drinking coffee in the morning, or architecture. Like there's so many cool buildings down there. I didn't take any of that at all, and I think it's because I was so nervous and wrapped up in making sure I did a good job for this couple. I'd love to go back, which I know I will be eventually, and really like take those moments in. I hope that answers the question. But
it does, yeah. Obviously, that photo shoot marked you, in a way that you like to revisit it.
Yeah.
So, often entrepreneurship is reinvention as well. We have to reinvent ourselves,
Mhm.
reinvent our craft, reinvent our styles. You know, what have you changed in the past 10 years?
Um, Making sure you have fun.
Hmm.
I changed, so New Year's goals this year. I changed it from goals to intentions.
Hmm.
And it's part of the big reinvention of myself is 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was in a pretty dark spiraled hole, I would say. I got myself into a place where I was listening to a lot of people's comments, comparing my work to other people, um, asking myself, like, I wouldn't post content, or I wouldn't love editing pictures because I would always compare it to other people's, like, well, this doesn't look good enough, or this composition isn't right, or I didn't direct this couple to do the right things. And so I really fell out of love with what I was doing. I didn't, and I it had never happened to me before. I was lost. I almost wanted to quit because I was like, man, I know I could go work at Walmart and stock tomato soup on the shelf, and I would do it so good. Like,
Hmm.
I would make sure Campbell's soup was on the front of all the cans. And um, all joking aside, but I it's taken a long time, like 2 years. This would, I would say, be my best year. Is No self comparison, and back to the intentions that I brought up was um, no negativity is one of my biggest intentions this year. No gossip, no judgment. Um, and it's really changed my frame of mind. Also, just being incredibly kind to everyone you see because you don't know what kind of day they've had.
Hmm.
And all that, I think, has shaped me in how I interact with, like, my clients, um, and how I work with them on a shoot. Really being, I've always genuinely cared about the conversations I've had with people, but, like, really asking those, like, meaningful questions to make them feel more comfortable.
Hmm.
Um, and then just falling back in love with why I do photography. Like, um, it got to the point, like, I was talking to my wife in January, and I was like, when I first started doing photography, I had this, like, unquenchable joy and thirst of shooting just candids. Like, some of my favorite pictures, and it was film is where it all started. And that's where we started this podcast at, was some of my favorite pictures are just my girls eating oatmeal for breakfast at the island in the morning, like on the kitchen island,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
we're 3 days in camping, and Ellie's got her bike helmet on and her hair's sticking out this far, and she's got dirt and s'mores on her face from last night, and she's just grinning like, she's
Right.
so happy.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this is why I fell in love with photography. Um so all that, like, identifying those things, and, like, noticing that I love, like, candids. I love fun. I love joking. I love adventures. If I can tie that into my branding and what I love to do, then maybe I'll attract that client, um, and have so much fun working with them. Because yeah, I want to shoot in Iceland and Scotland and New Zealand and Antarctica maybe someday. But,
Right.
like, if you don't have the right clientele and you're not relating with them and connecting with them, it will speak in your art. And so I'm really trying to find that niche where I attract that client that values all my interests.
Hmm.
Because then I know, I mean, I've had them, I've shot with them. I just did a couple in Iceland in November last year, and they were very much that.
Yeah.
And they're from here, and we had so much fun. Like, we were just laughing and joking the whole time, and it didn't feel like a photo shoot. It was so relaxed and
Hmm.
so easy, and they trusted me so much, and we still talk today and joke. And those are the clients and the relationships and the friendships that I want to build on. So,
I get it. Yeah.
long story long, or long answer
Yeah.
long. That's what I'm focusing on.
But your mental health is mental health in general is super important.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
outlook on life,
Yeah.
and so you've been focusing on that more in the last year. You said.
Yeah, just like, why did you fall in love with photography? Like, what do you love about it? And just pursue that. Or it doesn't have to be photography. Like,
Mhm.
why did you start that business? Like
Right.
why are you doing it?
Mhm.
And how do you keep that flame going?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely focusing. I think comparison is the thief of growth. You know,
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite quotes. So I got my first 2 tattoos last year. One of them's "Be
be
kind,"
kind.
and then I ran my first 100-miler trail run, and I put it on my leg because that's what got me there was my legs. And one of my quotes that I really fell in love with over that like self comparison of
Yeah.
the last 2 years was, I think it's Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, and it's "Comparison is the thief of joy."
Okay.
And I really want to, like, I never see this tattoo because it says, people are like, "Oh, I like that tattoo, be kind." And I'm like, "Oh, I forgot I have it," because I never see it.
Right.
And I really, like, in small print, I want to put it right here and just always remind myself, like, never get your, I've actually talked to Jesse about this when we first started working together and I was mentoring him. Like, what I'm going to show you, like, first off, how I pose my clients and work with them doesn't have to be how you deal with your clients and pose them. And same with editing. How I edit this photo and how I'm going to show you how I edit this photo isn't the be all end all. This is how I do it. Like, you have to figure out, and he's done so much research on, like, I know that he loves and follows Peter McKinnon. And some of the pictures that he's shown me that he edited
Mhm.
are so beautiful and so well done.
Mhm.
And so I always try to tell the people that I'm mentoring, like, what I'm showing you isn't how it's done. This is just what works for me and what I love. But hopefully, in what I'm showing you how I edit my photos, you might be able to pick up a few things
Mhm.
and use those in your arsenal as you're editing your photos.
Yeah.
But just edit photos the way, I think photographers in general get real caught up in presets and what's trending and what other people are doing,
Mhm.
and don't get stuck in that hole. Like, it is hard to crawl out of, and just shoot what you love,
Yeah.
and edit it the way you want,
Yeah.
because and what you shoot and how you edit and when you post it will attract who you want to work with.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be what other people are doing.
For sure. That's what I actually tell that to Jesse often too. And just in general in life is that
Mm.
there's only one you know,
Yep.
and everyone else is already taken.
Hmm.
So, and we don't have to be like other people.
Yeah.
We can be just ourselves and with our own talents and giftings. Your craft actually makes you stand out in the field. Obviously, you're very unique. Your artistry is definitely, you know, sets you apart from
Hmm.
other photographers.
Thank you.
What would you like? Just the truth, but what would you like to instill into the future photographers, you know, the future generation, like Jesse, for example? What would you like to to pass on to them?
Shoot what you love. Like, I get the sense that Jesse loves landscapes, and
He does.
he's got some really beautiful candid photos. I know he bought that film camera and he's been taking some film.
Mhm.
But, like, for future photographers, why did you buy a camera? Like, what were you shooting in the I always tell Rachel, I'll never forget the first year of business when I started shooting everything. I'd come home so happy with my cup so full and tell her I feel unstoppable. Like, I could take over the world. I was having so much fun. And then fast forward 8 years later, and I'm ready to quit. And I'm like, where is that been? Like, where do I find that joy again? And so it's like re-identifying where that joy came from and that passion came from
Mhm.
and revisiting it, which was very much started with film. So I bought some medium format film. Um, I another part that really helped me was I ran the rim to rim to rim last year with a group of friends, and one of the guys I ran with is David Kerr. He lives here in town. He's a very talented videographer and photographer. He works for Callan Marketing, I think,
Mhm.
and he after that run shared a YouTube documentary with us. And I think it was, I wish I would have remembered the name of it, but it's about Greer. I think Joey Greer. He lives in New York. He's a very successful film photographer. Uh, Mostly exclusively shoots on film. And this film is about him running. He wants to run a sub 240 marathon, which is hard. And then it also talks about his childhood and his past and his love for film photography. And just watching that and watching his passion for film and getting candids of people walking in New York, or he's been all over the world, um, seeing that and his joy in shooting that film and getting those like raw emotions and candids, like, helped me. I was like, man, I need to do this again. And so that's like why I bought the film for my medium format camera. And it takes all this is another important part I forgot about. It takes all the stress away. Like, you go into, say I'm doing a branding shoot for you. And in today's world, it's very much digital. I'll sit down with you. We'll go over the purpose of the branding shoot, put together a shot list so we make the most of both our time. And then we're very much on the same page about what we're going to be capturing. It's not just like flying off the seat of our chair. And after that, like in the moment when I'm taking those pictures, I get so wrapped up in being like, go, 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 go. I need to get as many pictures as I can to make Eric happy, because volume, right? But it's very much the opposite. It's quality and taking your time. And so film, I think, really helps you transition to that, because you don't get hundreds of photos on
Right.
a roll of film. You get 10 to 20.
Right.
And so I think going back to that film and being present and just like taking your time, like if you want to take a film picture of my kids eating breakfast, I don't just walk in and snap it like it's an iPhone or your
Yeah.
Canon.
Hmm.
You sit there and you look at the composition, and then you look at where the light's coming in the room, and you look at their faces, and they might be talking about something, and then you're waiting for that laugh. And so you'll just sit there and you're composed and everything's ready, and then you wait, and then you get that emotion that you're looking for. And then if a dog's jumping up on the table, that's bonus, right? And you get that picture, and that's what I want to like revisit and refocus on, is like taking your time and shooting quality, not quantity,
Hmm.
um, and just having fun. Like, find your cup fillers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good advice. For business in general, there's a lot of entrepreneurs listen to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What would you advise them as they're trying to start out in whatever niche that is,
Mm-hmm.
photography or not photography? What advice would you give to them?
I don't know, Eric. I would say, I feel like I'm a broken record. I keep saying the same thing. Pursue what you love. Um, Spend time with your friends and family. If you're married and have kids,
Hmm.
make sure you set time aside for them. Because if you're not happy at home, you're not going to be happy at work.
That is true.
And um, and if you're not happy at work, you're not gonna. Why would you do it? Like, um, I don't know. I would say, if you're gonna pursue a dream and pursue a business, do it because you want to do it, and you love it.
Hmm.
Because it's gonna make you feel like you're gonna work hard, but it's gonna make you feel like you're not working another day in your life.
Yeah.
I was told so many times when I had full-time jobs that I don't think I knew I wanted to do photography, but I always said, like, I wish I owned my own business so I could have my own rules and do what I wanted.
Yeah.
And people always, all the time, said, it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to be fun, whatever you pursue.
Mhm.
Work isn't always going to be fun. And I always had, like, like your little angel or something sitting on your shoulder here. And I was just like, I don't think that's true. Like, and so here we are. Like, has photography been hard? Yes. Is it extremely rewarding? Yes. Can I after this podcast go for a trail run if I wanted, if I don't have any on the calendar? Yes. Am I going to pay for it later? Yes. Like, time is time. I'm going to have to make it up somewhere. But just being in control of your schedule and what you want to do, and also not having to report to a boss, is really cool, but also scary.
Mhm.
Like, you are in control of how much money you make and how successful you are. It's easy to blame people for things not succeeding, but ultimately it's your problem, it's your fault. And so always, like you said earlier in the podcast, growing and figuring out your niche and what works for you. You're very much in charge of your success. So it it all ties together about how much you love what you're doing and how positive you are about it. Um, I truly believe is how successful you're going to be in business.
Ben, this has been very inspiring. It's an absolute joy to chat with you.
Mm.
You really give some really good advice for people that are heading into photography, that are in photography, and all in business in general. So I want to thank you for giving us your time.
Thank
You
you.
could have used it in other ways, maybe more productive ways.
Yeah.
So thanks again for joining us. How can people find you?
You can find me. There's so many portals of communication these days. Of course, my website, benwinkler.com. One thing I will say, if in my branding, I've really been trying to push is the C in my last name. I always joke that I should have taken my wife's last name, Walker, because you can't misspell that. But um, Winkler is always misspelled. So if you look at Ben Winkler without a C, it goes to a photographer in California.
Hmm.
He's received many leads and emails of mine. So if you make sure you put a C in there, benwinkler.com. And then also, of course, I have Instagram and Facebook. I'm more present on Instagram than I am on Facebook, but those are just Ben Winkler Photography. Make sure you put the C in the last name.
Got it.
And yeah, I would say those are the easiest ways to find me.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Ben. Appreciate
Hey,
this time.
thank you, Eric. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome.